Reborn Uchiha Itachi Power, I Solo 5 Kage. Welcome funds. Enjoy exclusive audiobook experiences right here. For full access to complete stories, visit my website or support me on Patreon, links are in the description. Episode 31 Susanoo-clad Buddha. One man destroys 3 kingdoms. Amidst the howling winds of the desolate plains, thousands of puppets wielded blades, like a white wave of death, threatening to engulf Tobirama. Go to hell, you arrogant brat. Granny Chio's fingers flew across the page, her eyes filled with delight. Faced with this overwhelming attack, Tobirama merely glanced at it indifferently. There was no attempt to dodge. He slowly raised his hands, clapped them together, the hand seal that once made the entire ninja world tremble. That is, Sakumo Hitachi's pupils suddenly contracted in the distance. Tobirama slammed his palms together. A vibrant green chakra burst forth from his body, a warmth and domineering energy completely different from the cold, sinister chakra of the Uchiha clan. The tree world is born from wood release. Rumble. The earth is roaring. The once barren Gobi Desert instantly cracked open. Countless thick, dragon-like tree roots, carrying unparalleled kinetic energy, surged wildly from the ground. Those puppets, in the face of these enormous tree roots, were as fragile as toys. Snap, snap. Hundreds of puppets were instantly entangled, crushed, and pulverized by the tree roots. This is. Grandma Chio's fingers froze in midair, her wrinkled face trembled, and her eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. Wood release? The first Hokage's wood release. Impossible. How could the Uchiha clan possibly know wood release? This is the signature technique of Hashirama Senju, the god of shinobi. Even the Senju clan couldn't inherit it, so what makes this Uchiha brat think he can? Orochimaru stood at a distance, his long tongue licking his lips, his eyes practically overflowing with fanaticism. A perfect Uchiha, plus the first Hokage's wood release. Tobirama-kun, what level of evolution have you reached? Roar. Just as the Sand Village defense line was about to collapse, a sharp, piercing roar rang out. Behind the Sand Ninja camp, the old monk Bunpuku, who had been sitting cross-legged, suddenly opened his eyes. If we don't fight with all our might, the main force of the Land of Wind will perish here today. Shukaku, come out. Boom. A massive amount of sand shot into the sky, instantly coalescing into a gigantic raccoon monster covered in violet-colored curse marks. A crane. Ha ha ha. I'm finally out. Shukaku laughed wildly, then opened its mouth and fired a huge training bullet, slamming it hard into the wildly growing sea of trees. A Jinchuriki? Tobirama stood atop a massive tree trunk, looking down at the enormous tanuki. His eyes showed no emotion whatsoever, even a hint of disdain. A beast is a beast. Trying to use tailed beasts in front of wood release and the Uchiha clan. Are you tired of living? Tobirama slapped the table with one hand. Wood release, wood dragon technique. Roar. A colossal wooden dragon, hundreds of meters long, rose from the sea of trees. It was covered in runes specifically designed to counter the chakra of tailed beasts, and roared as it charged toward Shukaku. What the hell is that? Just as Shukaku was about to retaliate, he was tightly entangled by the wood dragon. This entanglement is deadly. Slurp. The dragon head on the wooden dragon bit Shukaku's neck and began frantically draining its chakra. Ah, my chakra! Shukaku screamed in terror as its enormous body shrank visibly. Bunpuku, who was a Jinchuriki, let out a piercing scream. Die, quote. Tobirama coldly uttered a single word. The wooden dragon suddenly tightened. Snap! Along with the tailed beast and its Jinchuriki, they were instantly strangled. Benfu coughed up blood, his head lolled to the side, and he breathed his last. Shukaku let out a mournful cry of resentment, turned into sand and vanished, forced back to the resurrection loading period. Instant kill. The one-tailed Jinchuriki had absolutely no power to resist wood release. The Sand Ninja looked at the fallen corpse, and their last line of defense crumbled. Monster, monster. Even the tailed beasts lost. How can we fight like this? Looking at her fallen and wounded subordinates and the arrogant young man around her, Granny Chio felt a surge of despair. But she is an elder of the Wind Kingdom, she cannot retreat. Don't be afraid. Chio roared and summoned her strongest puppets, the Chikamatsu 10. Ebizo, who was standing nearby, along with her son and daughter-in-law, Scorpion's parents, also stepped forward. Soldiers of the Wind Kingdom. Fight him. Even if it means death, I'll bite off a piece of his flesh. Looking at this group of sand ninja prepared for a desperate fight. Tobirama shook his head. Ignorance is bliss. Since you're so eager to witness true power, then I'll show you what the end of despair truly is. Tobirama clasped his hands together, and a mask instantly appeared on his face. Sage art, wood release, true several thousand hands. Boom 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 boom. The entire earth is sinking. A colossal 1,000-meter-tall statue of the thousand-hand Guanyin has emerged from the ground and stands tall amidst the clouds. Its terrifying size made the sand ninja below seem like dust beneath its feet. That's not all. The eternal kaleidoscope in Tobirama's eyes spun wildly. Susanoo in full armor, crimson chakra armor instantly covered the enormous Guanyin statue. The originally benevolent-looking thousand-hand Buddha instantly donned the armor of a war god, transforming into a world-destroying war god. Susanoo-clad Great Buddha. This is true shadow-level combat power. This. The puppet strings in Granny Chio's hands snapped. She craned her neck so high it felt like it was about to break, but she still couldn't see the top of the Buddha's head. This moment. What poison, what puppetry, what human wave tactics. Everything seemed so ridiculous in front of this statue. This is an illusion. Ebizo muttered to himself, completely giving up resistance. Chio. Tobirama's voice came from the clouds, like rolling thunder. Since you remain so stubborn, then I will wield the whip of defeat upon you and let you feel the power of the ninja god. A Buddha image appears on the crown of the head. Boom. The thousands of enormous fists behind him, encasing Susanoo's armor, crashed down like a meteor shower. Every punch could shatter a mountain. Thousands of punches falling at once, that would be the end of the world. No. Quote. Chio let out a final, desperate scream. All puppeteers, defend. Unfortunately, it didn't work. Boom 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 boom. The earth shattered, and tectonic plates shifted. The wasteland within a 10-kilometer radius was blasted into a huge crater. Smoke and dust billowed into the sky, obscuring the sun. Much later, the smoke and dust cleared. The original army of the Land of Wind has vanished. All that remained was ruins and wreckage scattered everywhere. Granny Chio's body was half smashed, and she lay in a pool of blood, barely alive. She watched the slowly dissipating Buddha statue, and the boy descending from the sky. There was no longer any hatred in his eyes. Only deep fear and awe. This is no longer the power of a ninja. Konoha, someone's lost in thought. Chio breathed her last with difficulty. The Land of Wind has been defeated. Hopefully the village will make the right decision later. After saying that, his head lolled to the side, and he died completely. The elite forces of the Wind Kingdom have been wiped out. You won? 5 kilometers behind, Sakumo Hitaki and the Konoha ninjas stared in disbelief at the dramatically changed landscape. Then, long live Lord Tobirama, the god of ninjas. This is the new god of ninjas. Cheers resounded through the sky. All the Konoha ninja, whether Jonin or Genin, knelt down at that moment, offering the highest respect to the boy. If the destruction of the Rain Kingdom was previously within the realm of human effort, in today's battle, the Susanoo-clad Great Buddha directly elevated Tobirama to godhood. Starting today, the title of God of Shinobi no longer belongs to Hashirama Senju. It belongs to Uchiha Tobirama. Tobirama walked up to Orochimaru and casually tossed him a scroll. This is the antidote. The remaining finishing touches are yours. Orochimaru accepted the antidote, and for the first time, a feeling of submission appeared in his snake-like eyes. Tobirama-kun. No, Tobirama-sama. Where are you going? Tobirama looked eastward, towards the land of lightning and the land of earth. Of course we'll go to. Sweep up the rest of the trash. Flying Thunder God technique. A flash of golden light. Tobirama vanished from the spot. He left behind only an invincible silhouette, etched into everyone's minds. At the same time, eastern front of the Land of Fire. The situation here is on the verge of collapse. Hold on. Everyone hold on. Nara Shikaku, covered in blood, roared as he directed the battle. But it didn't work. The enemy on the other side is too strong. Bruby, the 8 tails Jinchuriki of Kumogakur, fully transformed into a tailed beast and rampaged like a bulldozer. There's also the 2 tails Jinchuriki, Komi, who transforms into a blue fire cat and is so fast that she's impossible to catch. In addition, there was the command of the strategists from the Hidden Cloud Village. The Hyuga and Uchiha clans on Konoha's side were being forced into a series of defeats. Damn it, hasn't reinforcement arrived yet? Uchiha Toyama activated his 3 Tomoe technique, barely dodging the 8 tails tailed beast ball, his face extremely pale. Didn't they say the village would provide support? If they don't come soon, we're all going to die here. Just when everyone was about to despair, Bruby opened his mouth wide, and a huge tailed beast ball condensed and took shape, aiming at the center of Konoha's position. Lao Zi and Han were also watching intently from the sidelines. It's over, you scum of Konoha. Tai coldly issued the kill order. However, just as the tailed beast ball was about to be launched, brush, quote, a kunai engraved with a spell symbol appeared out of thin air above the 8 tails head. Immediately afterwards, a figure draped in a black robe adorned with red clouds descended amidst golden light. So lively? Do you mind? Count me in? Episode 32. The tailed beasts were instantly annihilated. The war is over. A new god of shinobi. On the battlefield, the air seemed to freeze for a second. The eight tails, Urubi, launched its massive-tailed beast ball, but it vanished completely as if it had collided with another dimension. Then a loud explosion occurred in the distance. The strategist of the Hidden Cloud sect, Tsuchitai, suddenly turned around, his one eye fixed on the black-robed youth who had suddenly appeared in the center of the battlefield. Before he could react, Mr. Doorway, it's Lord Tobirama. On the Konoha side, the Hyuga and Uchiha clansmen, who had been resigned to their fate, suddenly erupted in earth-shattering cheers. That's the madness of a drowning person grasping at a last straw. Tobirama, Nara Shikaku, covered in blood, propped himself up and looked at that retreating figure, his eyes red with tears. What brings you here? Other battlefields. Everything's taken care of. Tobirama turned his head to the side, his two scarlet kaleidoscopes gleaming brightly amidst the smoke of battle. The crisis in Omegakure has been resolved, and the Land of Wind has been defeated. Now, only this last battlefield remains. He stretched, his tone as relaxed as if he had just come back from shopping. I'm here to take everyone home. Upon hearing this, the Konoha ninja burst into tears, their morale soaring instantly. But the other side wasn't happy about it. Fart. Enraged, Tsuchida laughed and pointed at Tobirama, shouting, Kid, are you still asleep? Lord Raikage failed? The Land of Wind was destroyed? You think this is just drinking and bragging? Why don't you just say you resurrected the Sage of Six Paths too? The Owagakure commander, Huang Tu, standing nearby, also had a face full of bulging muscles, his eyes filled with mockery. Has Konoha been beaten senseless? Sending a brat to brag like this, who are you trying to scare? We have 20,000 people here. And 4 Jinchuriki. You could drown from a single spit from anyone. The allied forces burst into laughter. They felt that Konoha was at its wits' end and had gone mad. Win? With what? By talking? Tobirama looked at the group of enemies laughing so hard they were doubled over, and shook his head helplessly. The truth is hard to hear, and nobody wants to believe it. Since that's the case, Tobirama suddenly clasped his hands together. A face mask appears, Sage mode activated. The terrifying chakra erupted like a volcanic eruption, instantly shattering the surrounding rocks into dust. Then go to hell and ask Hanzo. Sage art, would release, true several thousand hands. Susanoo in full armor. Rumble. The laughter stopped abruptly. The earth groaned, the sky trembled. A colossal Buddha statue, thousands of meters tall and clad in purple armor, rose from the ground without warning, soaring into the clouds. That terrifying shadow instantly enveloped the entire battlefield. The 20,000 allied ninjas were like ants looking up at a giant, their necks were almost broken, but they still couldn't see the top of the Buddha's head. What is this thing? Tsuchikage dropped the Raikage fan from his hand to the ground. Huang Tu's legs buckled, and he knelt directly on the muddy ground. Is this ninjutsu? You're telling me this is ninjutsu? Retreat. All troops, retreat. Nara Shikaku, being the brains of the group, reacted immediately and roared out the order. The Konoha ninjas scrambled to their deaths, while only the Uchiha clan members, running and glancing back, looked on with fanatical eyes as if they wanted to etch that Buddha image into their very souls. That's someone from the Uchiha clan. That's the power of the Uchiha. Toyama stood at a distance, looking at the giant who resembled a god, his heart trembling, but after recovering, a deep gloom flashed across his face. The top of the Buddha's head. Tobirama looked down at the terrified allied forces below him. As expected, the smile didn't disappear, it just shifted, from the allied forces' faces to Tobirama's. Weren't you laughing happily just now? Keep laughing. A Buddha image appears on the crown of the head. Boom! Thousands of enormous fists, encasing Susanoo's armor, rained down like a meteor shower. Ah! Help! Mum! It's unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable. The coalition forces collapsed. Earth release? Lightning release? Faced with absolute power, all defensive ninjutsu are as fragile as paper. One punch, and hundreds of people were turned into mincemeat. A single salvo sank the entire terrain by more than 10 meters. The earth's screams drowned out the cries of humanity. Smoke billowed, and blood flowed like a river. Damn it! Fight him! Totai's eyes turned red as he watched his men being crushed like ants, and his mental state completely collapsed. Jinchuriki! All of you, charge! Barabi, Komi, Old Purple, Han, stop hiding! Transform into your tailed beast form if you don't want to die. This shout roused the 4 terrified Jinchuriki. There's no other way, if you don't fight, you die. Roar! 4 inhuman roars echoed through the sky. Red chakra shot into the sky. Yaoushioni, Nibi Matatabi, 4-tailed Son Goku, 5-tailed King Kokuo. The 4 enormous tailed beasts revealed their true forms, charging towards the wooden Buddha statue with an aura of world-destroying power. Tailed Beast Ball. 4 enormous black energy spheres coalesced and simultaneously hurtled towards Tobirama. HMPH, 4 beasts. Tobirama stood atop the Buddha's head, his gaze indifferent. If the Nine Tails came, I might take a second look. With just you guys? Rubbish. Quote, Tobirama didn't even make the Buddha statue move, he simply clapped his hands together. Wood release, wood dragon technique. Wood release, ranking technique. A gigantic wooden dragon roared out, a ghost-faced shield blocking its path. Boom boom boom. The four-tailed beast balls slammed into the shield, creating a cloud of dust. But when the smoke and dust cleared, the Buddha statue was completely unharmed. That's it. Tobirama's lips curled into a mocking smile. Next, it's my turn. Brush. His figure vanished. When it reappeared, it was already standing on top of the two-tailed Matatabi's head, which was burning with blue flames. Cats should just lie still. Eternal kaleidoscope of illusions. Just as the two tails was about to resist, its enormous beastly eyes instantly met Tobirama's. 1 second. In just 1 second, the fierce light in Two Tails' eyes faded, replaced by a dull kaleidoscope pattern. It lay obediently on the ground, motionless. Control. Next up is you, giant octopus. Tobirama looked at the eight-tailed fox. The eight-tailed creature brandished its tentacles, trying to kill him. Wooden dragon. Tie it up. The wooden dragon, which had been prepared beforehand, seemed to come alive, tightly coiling around the eight-tail's body. Its head bit its neck, frantically draining its chakra. Ugh, I'm out of energy. The eight-tailed creature screamed in agony, its massive body collapsing to the ground. The third one is the monkey playing with lava. Tobirama looked at the four-tailed beast. Superhuman strength punch. He didn't use ninjutsu. Instead, he fell directly from the sky, his fist carrying a monstrous force capable of shattering mountains. Bang! One punch. It slammed hard into the Four Tails' forehead. The Four Tails felt like its brains were about to be smashed out. Its eyes rolled back, and it was instantly forced back into its Jinchuriki form, unconscious. The last one. Tobirama looked at the Five Tails, which was about to charge and crash into him. Susanu's bone arm. A giant red skeletal hand pressed down on the Five Tails' head and shoved it hard into the ground. Get down on your knees. Boom. The five-tailed beast struggled twice, then stopped moving. In less than a minute. Four-tailed beasts that strike fear into the hearts of the ninja world. One control, one bundle, one punch, one press. Annihilated. On the battlefield, the remaining allied ninjas were completely dumbfounded. They could barely hold their knives. Is this even human? Tearing apart a tailed beast? Fighting tailed beasts as pets? Who else? Tobirama stood on the back of the Five Tails, surveying the entire scene. Those scarlet eyes were filled with an invincible loneliness. If there is no, then let's send your Jinchuriki on their way. Tobirama raised his sword and brought it down. Without any hesitation, the heads of the four Jinchuriki fell to the ground. The four-tailed beasts transformed into chakra, but before they could dissipate, Tobirama took out a sealing scroll, system space, that he had prepared beforehand and packed them all away. This is an important strategic resource, it would be good to use it as a power bank in the future. The wind has stopped. Only a strong smell of blood lingered in the air. He knelt on the earthen platform, his eyes lifeless. We lost. We've lost completely. Faced with this power, numbers, tactics, and tailed beasts are all a joke. We surrender. With this trembling plea for mercy from Tutai. On the Konoha side, a heart-wrenching cheer erupted. We won. We survived. The god of ninjas, Uchiha Tobirama. All Konoha ninjas, whether Hyuga, Nara, or ordinary ninjas. At that moment, they all rushed towards the boy standing in the center of the battlefield. They tossed him high into the air. That is the highest tribute to the strong. Tobirama, suspended in midair, looked down at the fervent faces below, a slight smile playing on his lips. Episode 33 Surrender Agreement. A humiliating loss of national rights. The smoke of battle has cleared. Shikaku Senpai. Tobirama stood beside the giant Susanoo footprint, wiping away non-existent dust as he spoke softly. Nara Shikaku was covered in blood, but his spirits were extremely high. Upon hearing the summons, he instantly appeared behind Tobirama and knelt on one knee. Lord Tobirama, please give your orders. His posture was respectful, completely the attitude one would show to the Hokage. No, to a god. Pass on my orders. The Hokage has given me authorization. From now on, I will be fully responsible for all affairs on the front lines. Clean up the battlefield and collect all spoils of war. Then, Tobirama glanced at the trembling remnants of the allied forces in the distance. Take those two leaders with you, everyone else back to Amigakure. Yes, quote. Without any questioning, Nara Shikaku accepted the order and left. Flying Thunder God technique modified into Flying Thunder Legend. Tobirama, relying on his unlimited chakra and the Flying Thunder God technique, initiated a spatial teleportation, bringing the large force of several thousand people back to Amigakure. This move once again stunned the entire audience. Rain Village, Central Tower Conference Room. This place used to be where Hanzo gave orders, now it serves as Konoha's victory celebration and negotiation room. At one end of the long table, Tobirama sat imposingly, flanked by Tsunade, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and the heads of the various clans of Konoha. Its imposing presence was overwhelming and exuded a powerful sense of pressure. At the other end of the long table, the intellectual foundation of Kumogakure, and the lowest soil of Owagakure. As for the Land of Winds? Shio is dead, all the high-ranking officials are dead, now it's a complete mess, there's not a single person who can speak up, and they're all absent from the negotiations. Now that everyone's here, let's sign. Without wasting any words, Tobirama tossed over 2 pre-prepared scrolls. This is a post-war peace and reparations agreement. Tai's hands trembled as he opened the scroll. He only glanced at it, but his eyes nearly popped out of their sockets, and he almost fainted from choking. The Loas was so angry that its wound burst open, and blood gushed out. Article 1. Kumogakure and Owagakure shall each pay Konoha 1 trillion ryo in war reparations. Article 2. Both countries unconditionally surrender all Jinchuriki and tailed beasts, which will be kept in Konoha's custody. Furthermore, neither country will possess any tailed beasts from this day forward. Article 3. Both countries shall reduce their ninja ranks, and the standing ninja force shall not exceed 1,000 personnel. Article 4. Both countries recognize Konoha as a vassal state, and each state is required to contribute resources annually, 30% of its total mineral resources and 10% of its national treasury. Article 5. Konoha has the right to station troops and develop resources within the territories of both countries, and neither country may interfere. Both countries must also guarantee Konoha's interests and the safety of its personnel within their territories. The locations where Konoha's troops are stationed and resources are developed are considered to be within Konoha's territory, and neither country may arbitrarily enter them. Article 6. If Konoha goes to war, both countries have an obligation to assist Konoha in the battle. Article 7. Konoha has the right to intervene in the internal affairs of Tu and Rai at any time and to correct any mistakes promptly. This is hardly a peace agreement. This is clearly a contract of servitude. A slave treaty that leads to the subjugation of a nation and the extermination of its people. Bang! Huang Tu slammed his fist on the table, roaring with heart-wrenching fury. This is outrageous. Tobirama Uchiha, you're dreaming. Hand over the tailed beasts? And then become a vassal state? And ask us to reduce our military strength? You might as well just kill us all. Tai also looked resolute, gritting his teeth. We of Cloud Village will absolutely never sign such a humiliating and unequal treaty. Even if Lord Raikage was still alive, he would never agree. Faced with their roars, the Konoha ninjas in the conference room were also somewhat taken aback. Ruthless. That's too harsh. This is practically pushing people to their deaths. But Tobirama smiled. He leaned forward, his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan slightly rotating, its terrifying power instantly lowering the room temperature to freezing. Snap. He lit a cigarette, took a deep drag, and blew the smoke into their faces. Gentlemen, I think you've misunderstood something. This is a notification, not a request. What you can't get on the battlefield, you'll certainly not get at the negotiating table. Tobirama pointed out the window, his voice as cold as ice. I now have 30,000 Konoha soldiers, plus the newly recruited Rain Ninja, and their morale is high. I possess Susanoo, Wood Release, and Flying Thunder God technique. If you don't sign, then I'll kill you all on the spot, and then lead my army to Cloud Thunder Gorge, to the Land of Earth. At that point, it won't just be a matter of losing money. I will erase Owagakure and Kumogakure from the map. You must understand, if I can defeat your allied forces once, I can defeat you twice, 3 times, countless times. How many people do your 2 countries have? Even if you all come at me, I can easily wipe you out. By then, your 2 countries will be destroyed, and I'll see what face you'll have left to talk about dignity with me. The Loas and earthen mounds were stiff, as if they had fallen into an ice cave. They looked into the boy's eyes. There was no joke in that. He's serious. That madman, he's really capable of doing it. This is such a big matter, we can't make the decision. Tai's psychological defenses crumbled, and his voice trembled with tears. We need to consult with the Raikage, and the Tsuchikage. Are you asking for instructions? Tobirama let out a cold laugh. Onoki is now my loyal servant, as for the 3rd Raikage, he's still in the medical ward. Want to see them? Sure, that's a different price. Signing this agreement will save your country's life. If you want to redeem your shadow, you'll have to pay more. Overbearing. Shameless. This is blatant extortion. I'll give you 5 minutes. Tobirama slammed a pocket watch on the table. If you don't sign in 5 minutes, I'll hang the 3rd Raikage's head on the flagpole as a sacrifice, and then immediately send out my troops. Countdown begins. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. The ticking of the pocket watch sounded like a death knell in the deathly silent conference room. Every second felt like a slow, agonizing torture for both of them. Tai was covered in sweat, and his clothes were soaked through. Huang Tu's hand, gripping the pen, trembled violently, his knuckles turning white. Sign it? That would make one a sinner for all time, destined to bear eternal infamy. Refusing to sign? That would mean national subjugation and annihilation, leaving us without even the chance to bear the brunt of public condemnation. What to do? What to do? 1 minute left. Tobirama toyed with the kunai in his hand, his eyes filled with mockery. 30 seconds. 10 seconds. Looks like you guys have a lot of backbone. Tobirama stood up, his killing intent erupting. Then die. I'll sign. The earthen platform collapsed, emitting a sound of despair. He grabbed the pen and signed his name heavily on that humiliating treaty. Then, as if his bones had been removed, he slumped into the chair, covered his face, and wept bitterly. Once there's a first one, there's bound to be a second. Huang Tu watched as the earthen platform was signed, tears of blood streaming down his face as he trembled as he signed his name. Awagakure and Kumogakure have become complete vassals of Konoha. That's more like it. Tobirama put away the scroll and flicked it with satisfaction. Those who understand the times are wise. Go back and raise the money. You have a month. Get lost. The two felt as if they had been granted a pardon, and scrambled out of the conference room, their backs looking as forlorn as stray dogs. We won. Long live Lord Tobirama. In the conference room, the Konoha ninjas could no longer contain themselves and erupted in deafening cheers. This is an unparalleled achievement in expanding territory. From that day forward, Konoha became the sole overlord of the ninja world. And all of this was brought about by this young man. Alright, stop howling, everyone. Tobirama waved his hand and tossed the scroll to Tsunade. Tsunade, go and arrange the victory celebration banquet tonight. Everyone eat and drink to their heart's content, it's on me. Lu Ju, you're in charge of the garrison affairs. Don't let those bastards pull any tricks. Yes, quote. The group accepted the order and left, all beaming with joy. Soon, the large conference room was empty. Only a member of the Uchiha clan. There were about 40 or 50 people, all of whom were elites who had fought valiantly on the front lines. Leading the group was none other than the former clan head, Uchiha Toyama. At this moment, Toyama lowered his head, his expression complex, even somewhat uneasy. The atmosphere instantly shifted from revelry to a somber, tense one. Toyama-senpai. Tobirama sat in the head seat, not rising, toying with the flying thunder god kunai in his hand. The voice was very soft, yet it sent a shiver down Fugaku's spine. Everyone else went to celebrate. Do you know why I kept you here? Tobirama raised his head, his eyes were as calm as a stagnant pool, yet unfathomably deep. The Uchiha clan is too noisy these days. I prefer peace and quiet. What do you think? Episode 34 Toyama's resignation. Black Zetsu's whereabouts. Madara's new plan. Rain Hidden Village, High Tower Conference Room. Outside, the celebration banquet was deafening, but inside the room, the air was extremely heavy. Dozens of elite Uchiha warriors stared intently at the young man sitting in the head seat. As I just said, Tobirama toyed with the sake cup in his hand, his tone calm, yet his words struck like a thunderbolt. Furthermore, I have already obtained sufficient benefits for our Uchiha clan from the third Hokage. First, the independent detachment of the Dark Guard will be under my command. Secondly, the garrison's law enforcement powers have been expanded, granting him the privilege of acting first and reporting later. Third, the root organization was disbanded, and its resources were merged into the Uchiha clan. Fourth, and most important, Tobirama's lips curled slightly as his gaze swept over everyone present. After the war, I will serve as acting Hokage. Boom! These words caused an uproar among the Uchiha clan members present. Naruto agent? My god, are we Uchiha finally going to reach that point? Long live Lord Tobirama. Fanaticism. They were even more fervent than when they first heard the news of the country's destruction. The Uchiha clan had been ostracized for decades, dreaming of becoming Hokage. Now, that dream had been realized by this young man before them. Everyone, please be quiet. Tobirama raised his hand and gestured as if to press down. The cheers abruptly stopped. All eyes instantly turned to utmost reverence and obedience. Tobirama turned his head and looked at the man who had been sitting silently in the corner, the former clan leader, Uchiha Tomiyama. Toyama-senpai. Tobirama's voice was soft, yet it carried an undeniable air of authority. The villagers, led by the elder, have already held a meeting. Everyone agrees that the Uchiha clan needs a stronger, tougher leader who can lead them to victory. So, Tobirama leaned forward, his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan slightly rotating, its crimson light piercing Toyama's heart. They elected me as the new clan chief. What are your thoughts on this? Or rather, Tobirama's fingers tapped lightly on the table, the soft tapping sound like each tap striking Toyama's heart. Would you like to express your dissenting opinion? Toyama's entire body stiffened. Cold sweat trickled down his forehead and dripped onto the table. Pressure. Terrifying pressure. It wasn't just the unfathomable pressure from Tobirama's eye power, but also the gaze of dozens of pairs of eyes around them. He looked around. Those subordinates and clansmen who had once treated him with utmost respect now looked at him with indifference, even impatience. It's as if it's saying, "Old man, hurry up and step down, don't stop us from rising to prominence with Lord Tobirama." All eyes were on that boy. Tomiyama opened his mouth, wanting to say something about seniority and rules, wanting to rebuke Tobirama, but he swallowed the words back. Be opposed to? What grounds do we have to object? We can't even beat someone with a single finger. In terms of achievements, he single-handedly destroyed a country, ended the war, and captured 3 Kage, thus elevating the Uchiha clan to the highest rank. If he dared to utter a single word of dissent, these fanatical clansmen would probably tear him apart without Tobirama even lifting a finger. Call. Tomiyama sighed dejectedly, looking as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. He slowly stood up, unfastened the sword that symbolized the clan leader's power from his waist, and placed it on the table in front of Tobirama, holding it with both hands. I have no objection. Tomiyama's voice was somewhat hoarse, tinged with bitterness, but more so with a sense of resignation. Tobirama, no, clan head. You're stronger than me, you have more guts. Entrusting the Uchiha clan to you, perhaps that's the right thing to do. I, Uchiha Toyama, voluntarily abdicate in favor of a more worthy successor. From this day forward, I will follow only the lead of the clan head. After he finished speaking, he bowed deeply. This bow marked the end of the old era of the Uchiha clan. Good. Quote. Greetings, chieftain. The surrounding clansmen erupted in cheers once again. No one felt sorry for Tomiyama. Everyone was immersed in the joy of the clan's rise. Tobirama picked up the sword and casually tossed it to Konan, who was standing nearby, to hold. Very good. Quote. Tomiyama, you made a wise decision. From now on, you can settle down as an elder and follow me. You'll reap the rewards. The meeting has adjourned. The crowd dispersed, leaving only the lingering smell of alcohol and warmth in the room. After Tobirama left, in a dimly lit corner, the ground suddenly cracked open. A giant pitcher plant emerged, revealing its half-black, half-white form. Black Zetsu. Damn it, damn it. Black Zetsu's hoarse voice was filled with exasperation. What kind of monster is this? 12 years old, kaleidoscope, wood release, sage mode. To the point that everyone follows his lead, he's no ordinary genius. Black Zetsu is going crazy. His script is completely messed up. According to the plan, the Uchiha clan should be ostracized and suppressed by Konoha, then the reincarnation of Indra, filled with hatred, should be born, and finally, he should awaken the Rinnegan to resurrect his mother Kaguya. But what about now? This Tobirama Uchiha, he directly led the clan to take off. Not only was his clan not wiped out, but he's going to become Hokage? And you want to bring these families together to get rich and have a better future? How can this be resolved? Without hatred, without despair, who will awaken the Rinnegan? Who will activate the infinite Tsukuyomi? Too many variables. Black Zetsu was pacing anxiously underground. No, we must tell Lord Madara about this. If we don't take action soon, Mother's resurrection plan will be postponed indefinitely. I absolutely cannot let my mother's last wish be in vain. I must bring my mother back to life. At this moment, Black Zetsu's resolve was as strong as if he wanted to join the party. In the land of grass, somewhere in an underground cave. It was dark and damp here, with only a faint candlelight. The colossal golem of the outer path stood in the darkness, exuding an aura of desolation. An old man, emaciated and with tubes inserted into his body, sat on a stone chair. Although he was old and frail, his single eye still gleamed with an aura of domineering arrogance. Madara Uchiha. You mean? Ban's voice was old and deep, echoing in the empty cave. That brat named Uchiha Tobirama awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan, learned Hashirama's wood release, and even, single-handedly defeated 3 countries? Yes, Lord Madara. Black Zetsu emerged from the ground and gave an embellished report. That kid's strength is simply unfathomable. Hanzo was defeated in an instant, the tailed beasts were captured like pets, and even that old woman Chiyo was slapped to death. Lord Madara, he has probably already surpassed you and Hashirama in their prime. Ban fell silent. The single eye narrowed slightly, and the finger tapped lightly on the armrest of the stone chair. Surpass me? If anyone else had said that, Madara would have slapped them to death long ago. But after hearing Black Zetsu's description, the Susanoo-clad Buddha, that was a feat that only he and Hashirama could accomplish by working together. A 12-year-old kid actually did that? That's interesting. After a long silence, Ban finally spoke, a hint of excitement creeping onto his lips. I never imagined that such a perfect junior would emerge from the Uchiha clan just when I was about to die. This power, this talent. If it were him, he might be a good pawn. Black Zetsu panicked. Lord Madara. That kid's gotten way too arrogant lately. Not only is he the clan leader, but he also wants to be Hokage. How could he possibly listen to us? Young people, it's normal to be a little arrogant. Ban didn't take it seriously. A calculating glint flashed in his aged eyes. As long as you're from the Uchiha clan, you can't escape that curse of fate. Those who pursue power will ultimately yearn for true peace. Besides, he's ultimately just a kaleidoscope, not an eternal kaleidoscope. Such reckless use of his power, even with Hashirama's cells, would blind him. He must be going blind by now. Black Zetsu. Madara instructed. Don't confront him head-on. Find a way to lure him to the basement of the Nanga Shrine. Let him see that stone tablet. As long as he sees what I left behind, and sees that infinite Tsukuyomi is the only way to save the world. With his strength and wisdom, he will surely realize that the current Hokage position and power are nothing but a vain game. The only pursuit of God is to create a perfect world. Black Zetsu's eyes lit up. Yes, stone tablet. That was the Bible left behind by the Sage of Six Paths, which he altered in Black Zetsu. The stronger Tobirama becomes, the more advantageous it will be for the plan, as long as he sees and believes it. Understood, Lord Madara. Black Jew smiled sinisterly. I will try to guide him. Such geniuses are often the most arrogant, and also the most easily attracted to this kind of worldly truth. Rain Village, night. Bonfire party. The huge square was filled with wine and meat. The ninjas of Konoha and the surrendered soldiers of Amigakure were all mingling together, drinking and eating heartily. Tobirama sat at the highest point, with his left arm around a slightly tipsy Tsunade, and to his right sitting a well-behaved Konan peeling an orange. But he did not become obsessed with beautiful women. His gaze swept over the figures below, clinking glasses and exchanging toasts. Hayashi Hyuga, Shikaku Nara, Shizumi Aburame. All the heads of Konoha's powerful clans are here at this moment. Politics is never just about fighting and killing. Tobirama thought to himself. Having a big fist can only make people fear you. If you want to become Hokage and truly control Konoha, you need people to support you. Gentlemen. Tobirama picked up his wine glass and stood up. The sound echoed throughout the entire venue. We won this battle, but I also know that large families have their difficulties. Episode 35. I will not keep this glory to myself. The support of the great clans is invaluable. The campfire lit up the sky, and the air was filled with the aroma of roasting meat and the spiciness of strong liquor. Gentlemen. Tobirama sat in the main seat, one foot on the stool, a half-empty bottle of sake swirling in his hand, his posture unrestrained. Did everyone hear the treaty we just signed? 2 trillion ryo in cash reparations, plus annual resource contributions, the strategic value of the tailed beasts and their jinchuriki, and the resource rights of the land and lightning kingdoms, etc. Tobirama's lips curled into a playful smile as his gaze swept over each of the clan leaders present. This cake is very big. So big that it could feed the entire land of fire until they were stuffed. Hearing these numbers, even seasoned clan leaders like Hyuga and Nara, who were used to seeing the world, found their breathing quickened. 2 trillion taels. What does that mean? Konoha's total fiscal revenue over 10 years probably didn't even reach this much. This is practically a gold mine. This money is more than just spoils of war. Tobirama's voice was incredibly alluring. It is our capital for future expansion of influence, enhancement of strength, and even rewriting the landscape of Konoha. And how should this money be divided? Tobirama paused, deliberately keeping everyone in suspense. Sitting at the lower end of the table, Nara Shikaku put down his wine glass, scratched his signature pineapple-shaped hair, and his eyes gleamed with shrewdness. Mr. Doorway. Logically speaking, spoils of war of this caliber should all be handed over to the village's finance department, and then distributed by the Hokage and the advisory group, right? After all, that's the village rule. The moment Shikaku said that, the entire room fell silent. The atmosphere became a bit awkward. Everyone knows that's the rule, but who doesn't have their own ulterior motives? They fight so hard, but if all the money ends up in the hands of those old guys at the top, what will they eat? But someone always has to ask the question, and Shikaku is the straight man. Rules? Tobirama sneered and slammed the bottle heavily on the table. Luju, you're a smart person. But sometimes, intelligent people can be trapped by rigid rules. That old man, Hiruzen Sarutobi, sits in his office drinking tea and reading the newspaper. He's never even been on the battlefield. While we fought desperately on the front lines, shedding blood and sweat. Why should he get the lion's share just by talking? These words are too blatant, they are utterly outrageous. But a hint of approval flashed in the eyes of the clan leaders present. Tobirama stood up, walked up to Shikaku, and patted him on the shoulder. Not to mention, quote, I've reached an agreement with the old man. After the war, I will serve as acting Hokage. And the next Hokage, the 4th Hokage. Tobirama pointed to himself, exuding an aura of dominance. It has to be me. Since this world will be mine sooner or later, how the money is divided is naturally up to me. Boom. These words were like a reassuring pill, putting everyone's minds at ease. The acting Hokage. The fourth Hokage. This means that the boy before them is already the undisputed new emperor of Konoha. Certainly. Quote. Tobirama changed the subject, his expression becoming gentle and kind. I, Tobirama Uchiha, am not one to hog all the benefits. Everyone here, Hyuga, Inoshika Cho, Aburame, Inuzuka. You are all comrades who fought alongside me, who killed people. They are the true pillars of Konoha. It's fair to say that the safety of Konoha rests on our shoulders. Though the days of war are cruel, they are short. However, I will never keep this glory and these benefits to myself. Tobirama waved his hand, his heroic spirit soaring to the heavens. At that 2 trillion, take out 5 billion as compensation and bonuses, and distribute them to all the ninjas on the front lines. We will allocate 15 billion yen to establish the Konoha Development Fund. Everyone here, from every family, has a share. From now on, the resource development and commercial trade of the Land of Rain, the Land of Earth, and the Land of Thunder will all be preferentially entrusted to your respective families. I want everyone to get rich. Good. Quote. Hayashi Hyuga was the first to stand up, his Byakugan practically popping out in excitement. Lord Tobirama is so righteous. The Hyuga clan swears to follow Lord Tobirama to the death. My Nara clan is also willing to follow Lord Tobirama to the death. My Mountain clan is also willing to follow Lord Tobirama to the death. My Akimichi clan is the same. The other clan leaders also stood up and cheered. Providing money and resources, that's real, tangible benefit. 1,000,000 times better than that old man in the 3rd generation who only talked empty promises about the will of fire. That's not all. Tobirama pressed down on his hand, then dropped a real bombshell. I know you've all had enough of those 2 old advisors and Danzo's attitude in the village. They put in the most effort, but they have no say. So, once I officially take office, I will abolish the existing advisory board system. Form a brand new Hokage support cabinet. The cabinet members are composed of the heads of various clans and outstanding ninja representatives from among the common people. From now on, all of you will participate in the governance of the village, big and small matters, instead of just those few old fogies making the decisions. Instead, we should all work together to govern Konoha. This tactic, known as combining vested interests with decentralization of power, is a powerful move against these powerful families in Konoha. At that moment, all the clan leaders' eyes turned red. They weren't blinded by bloodlust, they were blinded by excitement. Enter the core decision-making level. This is something they wouldn't even dare to dream of. During the 3rd Hokage's era, power was firmly in the hands of the F4, and the various clans could only act as henchmen. Any thoughts they had would be ruthlessly suppressed by the F4. Tobirama, on the other hand, directly gave them the right to be in charge. Mr. Doorway. Nara Shikaku did not hesitate any longer, and immediately knelt on one knee, performing the highest salute of allegiance. The Nara clan is ready to serve Lord Tobirama. We will go through fire and water without hesitation. The Akimichi clan seconds this. The Mountain tribe seconded that. The Aburame clan seconds this. In an instant, everyone in the hall, except for Jiraiya, knelt down. This is not merely submission, but enthronement. This was a bloodless coup. Tobirama stood in the center of the crowd, watching this scene of universal devotion, a slight smile playing on his lips. Half of Konoha's territory now belongs to the Uchiha clan. And in the corner, Jiraiya silently took a sip of sake, his eyes filled with complex emotions. He looked at the spirited young man, then at the enthusiastic crowd around him. He knew that the era that belonged to Hiruzen Sarutobi had come to a complete end. Konoha is really about to change. Jiraiya sighed, but said nothing. It was an inevitable trend, he couldn't stop it, nor did he want to. After all, this kid really does seem more like a leader than the old man. Late at night, the noise subsided. Reeking of alcohol, Tobirama pushed open the door to the top-floor bedroom. The room was quiet, with only the crackling of the fire in the fireplace. Tsunade had finished washing up and was sitting on the edge of the bed drying her wet hair. She was wearing a large bathrobe. The hemline barely covered the top of her thighs, and her 2 long, shapely legs gleamed white in the firelight. The buttons were casually fastened, and the deep cleavage was vaguely visible. This level of lethality is simply off the charts. You're back? Tsunade looked up at him, her cheeks slightly flushed. You fooled that bunch of old foxes, haven't you? That's called personal charisma. Tobirama slammed the door shut and threw off his vest, his eyes instantly turning scorching. He walked up to Tsunade and pulled her onto his lap. Ugh, you reek of alcohol, it's awful. Tsunade pushed his chest away in disgust, but her body was as soft as water, and she leaned into his arms. The smell of alcohol? Tobirama buried his face in the crook of her neck and took a deep breath of the pleasant scent of her shower gel. This is a celebration drink. But I think Tsunade-sensei's scent is even more intoxicating. Tobirama's hand, unable to stay still, slipped inside the hem of his shirt. It feels smooth to the touch and warm like jade. Don't. Tsunade trembled slightly, grabbed the large, mischievous hand, and looked at him with a dazed expression. I have to go back to Konoha tomorrow. We'll talk about tomorrow's problems tomorrow. Tobirama kissed her earlobe, his voice hoarse and low. Now is the time for the secretary to report to the boss. That's also the time when I need to collect interest. You scoundrel. Tsunade's voice was incredibly soft, finally turning into a suppressed gasp. Hiss. Several buttons on the shirt had popped off. The room was bathed in the glow of firelight, a scene of springtime warmth. The immortal bodies of the Thousand Hands clan possess abundant vitality and astonishing regenerative abilities. The Uchiha clan's Eternal Eye possesses limitless energy and unparalleled insight. This was a closely contested match. It was also a joyous reunion after a long separation. Tobirama. Tsunade's fingernails dug deep into Tobirama's back. Those hands, usually so assertive and powerful, could only helplessly clutch the sheets. Am I getting old? She suddenly asked a silly question. After all, Tobirama was at the peak of his energy. Old? Quote. Tobirama interrupted her with a mischievous grin. Tsunade-sensei, you call this overripe. Perfect, that's exactly what I like. A-hole. The remaining protests were all drowned out by the torrential downpour. That night, the top floor of the tower in Amigakura village seemed to have experienced a small earthquake. From the bathroom to the windowsill, from the carpet to the bed. The collision of wood releases vitality and chakra allowed this lofty flower of Konoha to bloom in its most beautiful form. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. The ancients were right. Episode 36, A Power Strike. Officially becoming the acting Hokage. In Amigakura, the morning sun pierced through the perennial dark clouds for the first time. On the tower plaza, 20,000 Konoha ninjas stood in neat rows, along with several thousand rain ninjas who had already donned new headbands. Tobirama stood at the highest point, looking down upon all living beings. Listen carefully. From this day forward, there will be no more land of rain, nor village of rain. Tobirama's voice, amplified by chakra, echoed throughout the entire country. This place is officially renamed the Hidden Rain Province, a special province of Konoha. You are no longer wandering ghosts, but children illuminated by the will of fire. Rejoice! For the new era. Roar! The cheers erupted like a tsunami. For the common people of the Rain Kingdom, as long as there's no war and they can eat their fill, it doesn't matter who's in charge. Besides, this new leader provides money, food, and protection. He's practically a second parent. Jiraiya. Tobirama turned his head and looked at the white-haired hero beside him, who was still suffering from a headache due to a hangover. I'll leave this to you. Acting Governor General of Yuan Province, this position is rightfully yours. Huh? Me? Jiraiya pointed to his nose, looking completely bewildered. I want to go back to the village and take a bath. Stop talking nonsense. Tobirama patted him on the shoulder and said meaningfully. There are many orphans here, and the task of post-war reconstruction is arduous. Haven't you always been looking for so-called peace? This is your testing ground. Jiraiya's eyes lit up instantly, and he immediately stood at attention and saluted. I guarantee I'll complete the mission, Lord Tobirama. Having dealt with Jiraiya, this top-tier tool, Tobirama waved his hand dismissively. The rest of you, break camp. We're going home. 3 days later, Konoha Village, main gate. Hiruzen Sarutobi, dressed in a sacred robe, along with his advisors Omura Mitokado and Koharu Utatani, as well as the villagers who remained behind, waited at the entrance early in the morning. Although he secretly wished Tobirama would die outside, he still had to maintain appearances. After all, this is a triumph. They're here. On the horizon, a massive, dark army appeared. The young man at the head of the group walked confidently at the very front. On the left is Tsunade, and on the right is Orochimaru. This display is even more impressive than a daimyo's procession. Mr. Doorway. Hero. That's our hero. The villagers were in an uproar. They were unaware of the power struggles at the top. All they knew was that this young man had won the war and protected their peace. Tobirama looked at those fanatical faces. He smiled. Everyone, I'm back. I made a small fortune on this trip. As always, sharing joy is worse than enjoying it alone. Tobirama snapped his fingers. Multiple shadow clone technique. Bang bang bang. Dozens of shadow clones leaped onto the roof, each carrying a huge sack. Splash. A rain of banknotes. It's another rain of banknotes. Moreover, this time it's all large sums of silver notes looted from the land of rain, the land of earth, and the land of lightning. Robert. Long live Lord Tobirama. The entire gates of Konoha instantly descended into chaos, but it was a joyous chaos. Everyone was frantically grabbing money, shouting Tobirama's name. Hiruzen Sarutobi stood in the crowd, watching this scene, his face as green as an unripe cucumber. He, the Hokage, stood there like an unappreciated doorman, while Tobirama seemed like the real Hokage. Lord Hokage. Tobirama walked up to Hiruzen Sarutobi. Although Hiruzen Sarutobi was the Hokage, Tobirama's aura was one of superiority. We have successfully completed our mission, the allied forces of the three kingdoms have retreated, we have received the reparations, and we have expanded our territory. So, Tobirama narrowed his eyes slightly, his voice audible only to the two of them. Shouldn't you keep your promise from before? Hiruzen Sarutobi's lips twitched, and his eyes flickered. Ahem, Tobirama, you've seen it too, everyone's very excited. This matter, perhaps we should wait until we get back to the conference room and have a high-level meeting before discussing it. The tactic of delaying. The old man was still unwilling to accept it. Are they planning to drag this out into a private room and then slowly work it out using grand principles and justifications? Dream. Old man. Tobirama suddenly laughed, a cold laugh. He stepped forward, and the pair of eternal kaleidoscopes appeared without warning. Have you forgotten what Danzo looks like now? Or perhaps, do you want to become a human stick too? Now, if I just shout, these tens of thousands of ninjas and villagers here will follow me and storm the Hokage building. By then, you'll have lost both your dignity and your life. Choose one. A blatant coup. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked at the killing intent in Tobirama's eyes, then glanced at the ninjas around him who were only cheering Tobirama's name. The tide has turned. He sighed dejectedly, as if his spine had been drained. I see. Quote. Hiruzen Sarutobi turned around, facing everyone, and channeled his chakra, his voice echoing throughout the entire village. Silence. The entire room fell silent. Hiruzen Sarutobi took a deep breath, raised Tobirama's hand, and loudly announced. In recognition of Tobirama Uchiha's unparalleled contributions during World War II and his heroic act of saving Konoha from peril. And for my wrong decision, from this day forward I will step down as the third Hokage. Furthermore, it has been unanimously decided by the Hokage and the advisory board. Effective immediately, Tobirama Uchiha is hereby appointed as the acting Hokage of Konoha. And was designated as the successor to the fourth Hokage. Boom! This news is even more explosive than the rain of banknotes just now. After a brief silence. Fourth generation. Fourth generation. The cheers soared into the sky, scattering the white clouds. No one objected. In the face of absolute power and interests, anyone who opposes is a fool. The powerful clans of Konoha, who had just received the benefits, did not object at all. On the contrary, they were secretly pleased. Hiruzen Sarutobi, observing this from the shadows, felt a surge of anger and panic. Tsunade stood to the side, looking at the boy who was being adored by everyone, her eyes filled with pride. This is her man. He kept his word and actually got the Hokage position. Night falls. The residence of the Uchiha clan head. Compared to the revelry outside, this place seemed even more hot. Ugh, no, Nan is still next door. Tsunade was pressed against the huge floor-to-ceiling window, her hands braced against the glass, with a burning hot chest behind her. Outside the window, the lights of Konoha twinkled. Inside, breathless gasps filled the air. Next door? Quote. Tobirama chuckled softly, his movements becoming even more aggressive. Don't worry, I've set up a protective barrier. And, don't you think that's more exciting? As the newly appointed acting Hokage, it is my duty to check on the medical director's health. Especially here. Tobirama's fingers deftly unbuttoned the cumbersome top. Damn it, you're settling a personal score. Tsunade's voice had softened into a puddle of water, finally turning into broken syllables. At this very moment, the next room, Nan was not asleep. She was holding the paper flower that Tobirama had given her, and was pressing her little ear against the wall. Although there was a soundproof barrier, a tiny gap was deliberately left in the doorway. Faintly, you can hear sounds coming from that direction. Ah, be gentle. This is an order. Turn around. No, I really can't take it anymore. Nan's face instantly turned bright red, as if it were about to bleed. Although she was young, she had seen a lot during her time as a homeless person and knew a little bit about things. Are master and mistress fighting? But, master's wife seems to be screaming in great pain, yet also seems very happy? Is this what adult cultivation is? Nan bit her lip, feeling like a kitten was scratching at her heart. Curious. Shy. There's also a strange sense of anticipation. I want to grow up quickly. Nan shrank back into the blankets, covering her burning ears. When I grow up, I also want to help my master cultivate. Inside the master bedroom, Tsunade has completely succumbed. Tobirama, stop, they'll hear us. She sensed that faint presence emanating from next door. That B****************. He absolutely did it on purpose. So what if I hear it? Tobirama chuckled mischievously in her ear, sweat dripping from his forehead onto her snow-white back. This is the disciple's introductory education. Let her know that a ninja needs more than just chakra. You also need stamina. Besides, Tobirama secretly used his special technique, leaving Tsunade no choice but to retreat and cry out in defeat. Your current identity is that of the Hokage's wife. It is your duty to cooperate with the Hokage. Tonight, nobody's going to sleep. Episode 37 Konoha of the Leaf Village. The Cunning Third Hokage. The next day, early morning. Hokage building, top floor office. Sunlight streamed in through the broken door, which Tobirama had kicked in yesterday and hadn't fixed yet, illuminating Hiru's and Sarutobi's wrinkled and weary face. He didn't sleep all night. Opposite him, Tobirama, wearing a brand new divine robe, had already put it on without any hesitation, even though he hadn't been formally awarded the hat yet, and sat in the chair that represented the highest power in Konoha. The room was not empty. Hayashi Hyuga, Shikaku Nara, Choza Akimichi, Shizumi Aburame. The heads of all the powerful clans in Konoha were standing behind Tobirama at this moment. They were like a wall that kept Hiru's and Sarutobi out of power. Old man. Tobirama twirled the Hokage hat in his hand, his tone languid. The auspicious time has arrived. The villagers and ninjas outside are all waiting. The seal, the documents, the hidden parts, it's time to hand them over. Hiru's and Sarutobi tightened his grip on his pipe. He looked at the aggressive young man before him, and at the group of clan leaders who had once been subservient to him but now stood against him. Anger and resentment churned within him. Tobirama. Hiru's and Sarutobi took a deep breath, attempting a final struggle. The handover is no trivial matter, it involves every aspect of the village. The deployment of the Secret Service, the information about the barrier, the secrets of various countries, all of these require time. You've just gotten back, there are many things you don't know. Why don't we wait a few days, and then? Give us a few days? Tobirama sneered, interrupting him directly. Give me a few days until you replace the secret agents with your loyal followers? Or should we wait a few days until you transfer your assets and destroy the incriminating evidence left by Danzo? Hiru's and Sarutobi's expression changed. What do you take me for? You know perfectly well what kind of person you are. Tobirama stood up, his powerful aura instantly overwhelming everything else. Stop talking nonsense. Now, immediately, right away. Hand it over. Otherwise, Tobirama glanced at the heads of the various clans behind him. I'll have the Hyuga and Nara clans go directly to the archives to help with the move. This is outright robbery. But none of the clan leaders present spoke. Instead, their eyes were sharp, and some even seemed eager to try. Hiru's and Sarutobi closed his eyes in despair. The tide has turned. He trembled as he pulled a bunch of keys and a scroll from his pocket and placed them on the table. But the instant he put it down, a glint of light flashed in his eyes, as if he had just thought of something. All right, the power is yours. But Tobirama, you are still young. Managing a village is different from fighting a war. When I took office, Danzo and the others served as Hokage's assistants, helping him handle administrative affairs. Although I am old, my experience remains. For the sake of the village's stability, I am willing to condescend to continue serving as your advisor and assist you. This tactic is called retreating to advance. As long as he remains in the core decision-making circle, with his political skills and experience, wouldn't it be a piece of cake for him to sideline a 12-year-old kid? In the original story, the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, was manipulated into a puppet in this way. Pity. He encountered Tobirama Uchiha. Assist? Tobirama seemed to have heard the funniest joke and couldn't help but burst out laughing. Ha 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 ha. Quote, old man, do you think I'm as easy to fool as a fool? You want me to go and die while you reap the rewards? Tobirama's laughter ceased, his eyes turning as cold as knives. Save your breath. Perfect timing. I have a new policy to announce later regarding the Hokage's assistants. You'd better listen carefully. Because that position isn't for you. After saying that, Tobirama picked up the Hokage hat and put it on his head. Let's go, everyone. Let's embrace our new era. Hokage building, rooftop. The area downstairs was already packed with people. Yesterday's shower of banknotes, coupled with the victory in conquering a country, propelled Tobirama's popularity to its peak. Tens of thousands of villagers and ninjas crowded the square, eagerly awaiting his arrival. When Tobirama appeared in front of the railing wearing a divine robe. Whoosh! The cheers were like a thunderclap. Fourth generation. Mr. Doorway. Hiru's and Sarutobi stood half a step behind Tobirama, his face ashen, like a backdrop to this grand ceremony. He forced a smile and announced loudly. Effective immediately, Tobirama Uchiha will serve as the acting Hokage of Konoha. The process is complete. Next up is Tobirama's solo show. He pressed his hands down, and the entire room fell silent instantly. My family in Konoha. Tobirama's voice, amplified, echoed throughout every corner of the village. I won't bother with formalities. As Hokage, I will only do 3 things. Fair, fair, it's still F********** G fair. This vulgarity, ironically, stirred the blood of the common people below. That's so down to earth. I know that you didn't have much influence over Konoha in the past. The Hokage and his 2 advisors hide in their office making decisions on a whim, while you can only passively accept them. The wealthy monopolize resources, ordinary people have no way out, geniuses are buried, and heroes bleed and weep. These words resonated with everyone. Especially the civilian ninjas, their eyes were red. Hiruzen Sarutobi, listening from behind, broke out in a cold sweat. What was this kid up to? So, quote, with a wave of his hand, Tobirama dropped a real bombshell. I hereby declare that from this day forward, I will change all of this, enabling both wealthy families and ordinary people to achieve common prosperity. The Hokage Advisory Board system is abolished starting today. Dismiss Koharu Utatani and Omura Mitokado from her advisory position. A brand new Konoha Cabinet Advisory Group has been established. Boom! Hiruzen Sarutobi suddenly looked up, staring incredulously at Tobirama's retreating figure. Abolish consultants? This is an attempt to uproot the leadership of Konoha. Cabinet members will no longer be those few old men and women with failing eyesight. We will elect from the major clans such as the Hyuga, Nara, and Akimichi. At the same time, quote, Tobirama raised his voice, pointing at the civilian ninjas dressed in ordinary clothes below the stage. We will establish seats for ordinary citizens. Regardless of your family background, as long as you have ability and achievements. You can then join the cabinet. Participate in the governance of the village. Build the future of Konoha. Let Konoha become Konoha for the people of Konoha. Quiet. A deathly silence. Immediately afterwards. Roar. That's insane. They've completely gone mad. The civilian ninjas roared in anguish, some even kneeling on the ground and weeping bitterly. It's been decades. They finally had a chance to get close to the center of power. This is not just reform, it's a leap in social class. Long live Lord Tobirama. I swear to follow Lord Tobirama to the death. Looking at the frenzied, tsunami-like crowd below, Hiruzen Sarutobi swayed and almost fainted. Completion. It's completely over. This kid used this trick to win over both the wealthy and the common people. From now on, anyone who dares to oppose Tobirama will be opposing the interests of the entire village. Hiruzen Sarutobi has been completely isolated. But Tobirama wasn't finished. Besides rights, we also need food to eat. Tobirama took out a scroll. It was the post-war agreement. I have some great news to share. Just yesterday, the Land of Lightning and the Land of Earth signed the surrender document. 2 trillion taels in reparations. 30% of resources to be paid as tribute every year. Starting today, Konoha's taxes will be halved. The compensation for all fallen ninjas will be doubled. Bounties for all missions increased by 30%. I want everyone to become rich. This wave is a dimensional reduction attack on the material level. If giving power earlier was like drawing a pie in the sky, then this is like stuffing meat directly into your mouth. The cheers were beyond words. The entire Hidden Leaf village was shaken. At this moment, the name Tobirama Uchiha surpassed all previous Hokage, becoming the sole god. The speech has ended. Amidst admiring gazes, Tobirama turned and walked back to the conference room. Behind him followed a large group of ruddy-faced clan leaders, as well as several civilian ninja representatives who had been temporarily promoted. Hiruzen Sarutobi stood alone on the rooftop. The wind blew through his divine robes, making him appear particularly desolate. Nobody paid him any attention. No one even glanced at him. The era that belonged to Ren Zhong was kicked into the garbage dump by that boy. The Hokage's meeting room. The long table that originally belonged to the Hokage was now full of people. Tobirama sat in the head seat, removed his straw hat, and placed it on the table. Tsunade sat to his left, still dressed as a secretary, but the love and pride in her eyes were impossible to hide. Gentlemen. Tobirama glanced around. Hayashi Hyuga, Shikaku Nara, Minato Namikaze. This is a completely new team. Young, energetic, and ambitious. The door is open. Tobirama leaned back in his chair, a knowing smile playing on his lips. Next. The time has come when the entire ninja world will kneel at Konoha's feet and sing, Conquest. Then I will issue my first order since becoming Hokage. Episode 38, Division of Profits. The 6 Tomoe Rinnegan. On both sides of the long table, the heads of the major clans of Konoha and the representatives of the Jonin teams all sat upright, their eyes fixed on the man in the main seat with fervent gazes. Enough with the preamble. The post-war reckoning is over. Now it's time to reward those who have contributed and to reorganize power. He casually tossed a document onto the center of the table. Given the incompetence of various departments during the frontline collapse, I have decided to conduct a complete overhaul of Konoha's leadership. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines and immediately held their breath. A major reshuffle is coming. Orochimaru. Here, Orochimaru's snake-like eyes were filled with excitement, and he unconsciously licked his lips. The original research team has been disbanded and reorganized into the Department of Ninjutsu Development and Science and Technology, with you as its head. I need you to thoroughly understand the Second Hokage's Forbidden Techniques library within 3 years. Also, you are allowed to restart the research on Hashirama cells. Funding will be plentiful. At the same time, you also need to integrate all the scientists in the Land of Fire to develop scientific ninja tools and weapons of war. Tobirama directly threw out the bait that Orochimaru most desired. Thank you so much, Lord Tobirama. Orochimaru's voice trembled with excitement. Compared to this, the Hokage title was nothing. For a research fanatic, stable, independent, and free research is what he truly seeks. Tsunade. Yes, Tsunade sat to Tobirama's left, her expression a mixture of complexity and pride. The medical unit is being upgraded to a medical department, and you are appointed as its head. You have full authority to establish a battlefield medical system. Anyone who dares to obstruct your funding should report my name directly, and I'll have them killed. Uchiha Setsuna, your subordinate is here. An old man with a sinister face suddenly stood up. Although his face was calm, the Grand Elder was already extremely excited. After so many years, the Uchiha clan was finally about to usher in this moment. Your appointed personnel and operations minister. You'll be responsible for the assignment and evaluation of all the village's ninjas. Remember, I need efficiency. Don't send me any useless people. If I find even one, I'll cripple you. Yes, I'm willing to go through fire and water for the clan chief. He was so excited his face turned red. Personnel power. This was a truly lucrative position. Immediately afterwards, Tobirama's gaze fell on the Hyuga clan leader. The Hyuga clan leader tensed up instantly, his palms sweating profusely. The Hyuga clan's performance this time was acceptable. Tobirama said calmly, since the Uchiha clan has taken charge of the other departments, then the position of Konoha security commander will be given to the Hyuga clan. The Hyuga clan leader was immediately jolted awake. Security department? That was the Uchiha clan's private territory. Lord Tobirama actually gave it to the Hyuga? This is a powerful department that controls village security and law enforcement. Thank you so much, Tobirama-sama. The Hyuga clan will serve you to the death. The Hyuga clan chief nearly knelt down on the spot. This is not just about power, it's about trust. Nara Shikaku, chief of the operations staff. Yamano Inoichi, director of intelligence analysis. The Akimichi clan. As each name was read out, the atmosphere in the conference room reached its climax. Whether they were from wealthy families or ordinary ninjas, everyone received a much larger share of the pie than they had expected. Even the smaller families that were usually suppressed received preferential treatment in terms of resources because they chose the right side in this war. At last, quote, Tobirama stood up and looked around. The Anbu is expanding its recruitment. No longer limited to clan ninjas, any commoner ninja can be selected as long as they are strong enough. With merit, you can obtain S-rank ninjutsu, forbidden techniques, money, and status. Wow! At this, all the civilian representatives couldn't help but cheer. Break down class barriers. This is the benefit of following the strong. Long live Lord Tobirama. I swear to follow Lord Tobirama to the death. The cheers nearly lifted the roof off the Hokage building. They didn't care who became Hokage. All they knew was that by following Tobirama Uchiha, they would have food to eat, dignity to maintain, and the chance to win. Half an hour later, the crowd dispersed. Only Tsunade remained in the meeting room. Is everything taken care of? Tsunade looked at Tobirama, a hint of worry in her eyes. Are you really going to the land of wind alone? Although Tsunagakure was defeated, their foundation is still intact, and no one knows what backup plans they have. A backup plan? Tobirama gave a dismissive smile and straightened the collar of his divine robe. Those bunch of scoundrels. They used to have 2 decent fighters, but even if they have a chance to use their backup plan, what can they do to me? But, no buts. Tobirama walked to the window, looking at the jubilant Konoha village outside, his eyes turning deep and cold. The 3 great nations are besieging us. The land of lightning has already surrendered, leaving only the land of wind pretending to be dead. If we don't inflict heavy losses, cripple them, and force them to their knees, the ninja world will think I, Uchiha Tobirama, am easy to talk to. He turned around and pinched Tsunade's cheek. Take good care of the house. I'll be right back, and I'll bring you some local specialties from Tsunagakure. He finished speaking and didn't wait for Tsunade to react. Swish! A flash of golden light. Flying Thunder God technique activated. The person has disappeared. Tsunade touched her cheek, looked at the empty room, sighed helplessly, and then her eyes became firm. This guy, he's hopeless. The ninja world is in turmoil. As news of the great victory at the Konoha front spread, the entire ninja world was in an uproar, like oil being poured onto a hot fire. The third Kage was defeated and captured by the third Kage. His fate is unknown. Onoki was easily controlled by illusion. The allied forces of the three kingdoms were defeated by one man, who slaughtered most of them. Amigakure has been wiped out. The demigod Hanzo has fallen. Any one of these incidents would be enough to shake the ninja world, and now it turns out that Tobirama Uchiha did it all by himself? Panic. Extreme panic spread across the hearts of all nations. Almost simultaneously, all the non-participating nations outside the Land of Wind, including those ruthless underground gold exchange operations and wandering ninja groups, received a top-down order from their respective leaders. From this moment forward, anyone encountering Tobirama Uchiha of Konoha will not be considered to have failed their mission if they abandon it. They are permitted to escape unconditionally. Any form of provocation against Konoha ninja is strictly prohibited. Those who disobey will have their entire clan exterminated. In the old ninja world, Konoha was a fat sheep, and everyone wanted to take a bite. In the current ninja world, Konoha is a forbidden zone. Whoever touches it dies. The hidden mist village in the Land of Water. The third Mizukage held the intelligence scroll in his hand and remained silent for a long time before speaking. As long as that monster is still around, the Mist Ninja will never set foot in the Land of Fire, even if it means begging for food. The Land of Wind, Tsunagakure Village. The wind howled, and yellow sand filled the sky. The atmosphere inside the round table meeting room was oppressively suffocating. Fight? What are we going to fight with? An elder slammed his hand on the table, his wrinkled face filled with anxiety and fear. Our allied forces of three nations, numbering tens of thousands, still haven't defeated 3 Kage. Our Kazekage is still a prisoner. What do we have to stop Uchiha Tobirama? Puppets? Or you? But if we surrender, we'll have to pay an astronomical amount of resources. Tsunagakure is already poor. After paying that, we'll be left with nothing. A pro-war elder roared, his eyes red. I refuse to believe he's truly invincible. This is the desert, our home turf. As long as we get stuck in quicksand. Idiot. Another elder sighed and looked at the other elder as if he were a fool. Someone who can easily erase dust escape techniques, how could quicksand trap him? Are you trying to drag the entire village down with you? The room was filled with the sounds of arguing. Outside, the entire sand village was in complete chaos. The villagers frantically bought supplies, the ninjas looked panicked, and some even started packing their valuables to flee. The words Tobirama Uchiha uttered were 1,000,000 times more terrifying than any S-rank rogue ninja's wanted poster. Just as the argument in the conference room was reaching a fever pitch. Buzz, a terrifying pressure of chakra, enough to make one's soul tremble, descended without warning directly above Tsunagakure. The aura was so strong that everyone in Tsunagakure noticed it. The meeting room fell silent instantly. All the elders looked up abruptly, their pupils contracting sharply. They're here, above Tsunagakure village, 1,000 meters above the ground. Tobirama Uchiha floated in the void, his divine robes fluttering in the gale. He looked down at the village below, which resembled an anthill, his gaze as indifferent as a god's. Just then, that long-lost voice rang in my mind once again. Ding! Congratulations, host, you have achieved the achievement, dominating the sky with one hand. The system has detected that the host has effectively taken control of Konoha and instilled fear in the nations of the ninja world. Prestige has exceeded the critical threshold. Rewards being distributed. Congratulations, host, you have obtained 6 Tomoe Rinnegan. Note, the host can use all Rinnegan Eye techniques, including Amenote Jakara, Limbo, Border Jail, and Amenote Jakara, without side effects and gain ultimate control over yin-yang release. Boom! An immense, indescribable power of vision instantly surged into Tobirama's eyes. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, the original eternal kaleidoscope pattern has disappeared. Instead, there were concentric purple ripples, and on those ripples, 9 jet black Magatama was slowly rotating, radiating an eerie yet noble light. 6 Tomoe Rinnegan. Even Madara Uchiha, the 10 Tails Jinchuriki, didn't possess the supreme eye. Tobirama clenched his fist, feeling the power within him that seemed capable of reshaping the world. What do you mean by Kage level, or Super Kage level? Before him now, they were nothing more than slightly stronger dust. It could be said that he had now completely become a 6 parts level powerhouse. Is this the power of God? Tobirama's lips curled into a haughty smile. He lowered his head, looking down at the sand ninja below who had sensed the oppressive aura and were looking up in terror. Perfect, let's use you to test the power of this eye. Episode 39 Super, Heavenly Obstruction Star, Tsunagakure submits. Above Tsunagakure, in the Land of Wind. The wind howled, yet it couldn't budge the man's clothes even slightly. Tobirama Uchiha hovered 1,000 meters in the air, coldly observing the dense crowd below, which resembled ants. Instead of attacking directly, he opened his mouth, and his voice, amplified by immense chakra, instantly resounded in the ears of every sand ninja. Listen up, you ants of Tsunagakure. Given your reckless resistance and your low morale as defeated nations, I, on behalf of Konoha, hereby issue the final treaty for the disposition of defeated nations. Article 1. Kumogakure and Iwagakure shall each pay Konoha 1 trillion ryo in war reparations. Article 2. All Jinchuriki and tailed beasts must be unconditionally surrendered to Konoha for safekeeping, and from this day forward, no one may possess a tailed beast again. Article 3. Reduce the number of ninja units. The standing ninja force shall not exceed 1,000. Article 4. Recognize Konoha as a vassal state, requiring it to annually contribute resources, 30% of total mineral resources and 10% of the national treasury. Article 5. Konoha has the right to station troops and develop resources within its territory, and no interference is permitted. Military bases are considered Konoha territory. Unauthorized trespassers will be executed. Article 6. If Konoha initiates a war, you are obligated to send troops to assist. Even if you are cannon fodder, you must be at the forefront. Article 7. Konoha has the right to intervene in its internal affairs at any time, to depose and install leaders, and to correct mistakes. Upon hearing these 7 points, the sand ninja on the ground were initially stunned, then erupted in immense rage. However, Tobirama hadn't finished speaking. A cruel smile curled at the corner of his lips, and his gaze grew even colder. As for your Wind Kingdom, given that you have wasted my time and are still attempting to put up a stubborn resistance, I hereby add an 8th clause. The Kingdom of Wind demands an additional 500 billion taels of war reparations. For every tael short, I'll kill someone to settle the debt. After a brief silence, the entire sand village erupted in fury several times stronger than before. This is outrageous. A surviving elder from Tsunagakure, his eyes blazing with fury, pointed at the sky and roared, Tobirama Uchiha. You're dreaming. Even if I die, even if I wipe out the entire village of Tsunagakure, I will never agree to these conditions. That's right. This is an insult, a trampling of the dignity of the Wind Kingdom. Fight him. He's only one person. We have tens of thousands of ninja soldiers and villagers. All Wind Release Ninja, prepare. Take him down. Kill him. If we kill him, Konoha is finished. Anger clouded his judgment. Incited by the elders, the Sand Village ninjas, who were initially fearful, were now all enraged by this extremely harsh treaty. Since we're going to die anyway, we might as well take this arrogant Uchiha with us. A major breakthrough in wind release. Wind release, vacuum ball. Puppetry techniques encompass 1,000 methods. In an instant, countless ninjutsu techniques soared into the sky from the ground. Countless wind blades, kunai, and poison needles converged into a destructive torrent, attempting to tear the figure in the sky to shreds. The scene was incredibly spectacular, as if the entire desert was roaring. Oh, this is your choice? Tobirama looked down at the ants frantically retaliating at his feet, his eyes showing no emotion, only deep disappointment and contempt. All the attacks seemed to hit an invisible wall when they came within 10 meters of him. Shinra Tensei was activated. Instantly, all attacks shattered and were deflected, not even touching the hem of his clothes. Since you're so ungrateful, don't blame me for being ruthless. Too many people? They can wear me down? Tobirama sneered, and the 6 parts level chakra within his body suddenly surged. The Rinnegan with 6 tomoe suddenly burst forth with dazzling light. Then I'll show you what true power is. What is? Despair? Tobirama didn't even form hand seals, he simply pressed his hands down slowly. Super, a celestial obstruction. Buzz. The once clear sky suddenly darkened. It's not that dark clouds are obscuring the sun. Instead, something was blocking the sun. The sand ninjas, who were frantically unleashing ninjutsu on the ground, suddenly sensed something was wrong. They stopped attacking and looked up blankly. Upon seeing this, everyone's soul seemed to freeze. The clouds parted, and a massive meteorite, over a kilometer in diameter, burning with raging flames and carrying an overwhelming pressure, crashed down directly towards Tsunagakure. But that's not all. After the first meteorite, the second, the third. Dozens of enormous meteorites, like the wrath of the gods, lined up in formation and crashed down. This scene was like the end of the world. This is an illusion, isn't it? The elder who had just roared now dropped his cane to the ground with a thud, his body limp as a board, his lips trembling so much he could barely speak. How could a human possibly do such a thing? This is divine. Run fast. A desperate scream ripped from his throat. The courage I had just shown to fight desperately crumbled in an instant. Are there many people? In the face of a meteor shower that blankets the sky, what difference is there between tens of thousands of people and tens of thousands of ants? Block it. Quickly use the barrier to block it. Someone cried out. Block my A**. How can you block it like that? Rumble. Before the meteorite even fell, the terrifying wind pressure had already arrived. The iconic narrow gorge of Tsunagakure collapsed instantly, countless buildings were flattened like paper, the ground began to crack, and sandstorms raged across the sky. Boom! The first meteorite landed. The earth trembled. A giant mushroom cloud rose into the sky. Then came the second one, the third one. Smash, smash, smash. The continuous explosions sounded like the world's lament. The shock wave swept outwards, instantly crushing everything in its path, houses, rock walls, and even the ninjas who tried to resist, leaving not a trace. In just 10 seconds, the entire village of Tsunagakure was transformed into a living hell. Tobirama Uchiha hovered above the smoke and dust of the explosion, arms crossed, like a demon god judging the world, coldly watching the carnage below. There was no pity. This is war. This is also a way of establishing authority. For a long time, the smoke and dust cleared. The once bustling center of Tsunagakure has been turned into a huge crater. The surrounding area was a scene of ruins and desolation. Tens of thousands of people, more than half of them are now dead or wounded. The remaining half were also injured, their eyes vacant, completely terrified. Their spines were brutally broken by these meteorites. Now, who else wants to drag me down? Tobirama's voice rang out again, calm, yet like the whisper of death. The surviving sand ninja trembled, and many of them immediately knelt on the ground, breaking down in tears. Rebellion? What can we use to resist? That man could wipe them all out with just a flick of his finger. I surrender. I'll accept any conditions. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. One of the Jonin's mental defenses completely collapsed. He dropped his weapon and began frantically kowtowing. Once there's a first one, there's bound to be a second. I surrender too. From now on, Konoha is our master. We'll be your dogs. Don't kill me. Wah, it's so scary. More and more sand ninja discarded their weapons, trembling as they crawled out of the ruins, and knelt before Tobirama in the sky. Fear triumphed over so-called dignity. Very good. Quote. Tobirama nodded slightly and pointed to an open space in the distance. Those who want to live, get over there. The crowd began to move. Large numbers of sand ninja scrambled towards the designated location, fearing that if they were even a step too slow, the god of death in the sky would unleash another meteor. However, there are still some diehards. Most of them were remnants of the previous hawkish faction. Watching their comrades surrender, the fear in their eyes transformed into a twisted madness. Bastards, you bunch of cowards, traitors. A sand ninja squad leader, covered in blood, picked up a kunai and glared fiercely at his surrendered comrades. You've utterly disgraced the land of wind. Since you dare not kill Tobirama Uchiha, then I'll kill you traitors first, and then I'll die. Kill, clean house. I'd rather die than be a dog of Konoha. This group of diehards numbered several hundred. Knowing they were doomed, they turned and charged at the unarmed surrenderers. The surrendered men were terrified. They wanted to resist, but it was too late. Kill someone in front of me? Tobirama frowned slightly, and his right eye moved slightly. Did you get my permission? Amaterasu. Boom. There were no warning signs whatsoever. Suddenly, jet black flames ignited on the hundreds of die-hard ninjas who were charging forward. A piercing scream instantly echoed through the sky. The flames were impossible to extinguish, like a persistent, insidious infection. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of elite ninjas were reduced to ashes. They didn't even have a chance to resist. Black flames flickered, illuminating the pale faces of the surrendered. Watching their comrade, who had just tried to kill them, vanish into thin air in an instant, deepened their fear and brought their awe of Tobirama Uchiha to its peak. The scene fell completely silent. The remaining 10,000 plus survivors knelt neatly in the open space, not daring to raise their heads. Tobirama slowly descended. Even when the ground beneath his feet was scorching hot, he walked as if it were flat ground. He glanced at the trembling prisoners, a satisfied smirk playing on his lips. It seems that after weeding out the tough nuts, what's left are those who can understand human speech. He walked to the front of the crowd and casually kicked aside a remnant of a weapon that had been burned by Amaterasu. Since you've already knelt down, then kneel firmly. From this day forward, the land of wind will be Konoha's backyard. Who's in favor, and who's against? Be opposed to? Those who objected just now have their ashes scattered. Who dares to object now? Very good. Quote.